Hey everybody, welcome to Intentional Women Making an Impact. Trienne Topp here, your leadership performance coach. And I'm so excited to share with you today Terri Adams. She is in a book group with me, book collab, and I feel like we're in a couple other groups. But let me share with you a little bit about Terri. She's a business and life coach. She's the founder of her business 10,000 Dreams, which I just love that title. She helps business owners get clear on what they want from their life and supports them to create the change that they feel like they need in their business to bring that life and those dreams into reality. She is all the way across from us in Australia, which I absolutely love how this is able to make people connect from different areas of the world. Terri's here to help other people shine and to help them to rediscover themselves, their purpose, their dreams, and who better to have in our community for another episode of Intentional Women Making an Impact. Awesome. Hello, Terri.
Hi. So great to be here.
Glad to have you on today. Yeah, thank you so much for being part of our speaker lineup inside the Female Leader Headquarters. Why don't you start just a little bit about share with the group about yourself and kind of how your journey has taken you into your entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. Would love to. So I've kind of been entrepreneurial my whole life. I grew up on a cattle property. My family still run that. And when we were kids, you know, I'm sorry if there's background noise. It's my Great Danes pushing me around.
Okay. Mine's my kids singing Christmas songs. It's really fine.
I have a 16-year-old. He hasn't surfaced yet. It's 8:30 in the morning here where I am. Hence the very bright light you can see here. I can't block that yet. So yes, grew up in rural Queensland on a cattle property, and my whole family live their dreams every single day, and they still do. Like my dad, my brothers. I'm the middle of three. My younger brother is 6 years younger than me, and I remember him as a little kid, you know, cell grazing cattle in the spare bedroom and this sort of thing, right? With all of his mum couldn't keep cotton wool in the bathroom because it became sheep. So he doesn't have sheep now, but he now lives that. He's, 40 something years old. And so I've always had all these incredible examples of inspirational people around me who have been living their dreams every single day and persevering through just so many challenges and succeeding because they were so committed to that end goal that they was so clear on. There was just no question as to whether or not they were going to succeed. It was just a matter of how. So me though, I was a black sheep because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had all these, there's a very good reason why my business is called 10,000 Dreams, right? Because I reckon I tried to follow that many of them. And the thing is that I've had a beautiful life. I am not complaining at all. I've had lots of amazing opportunities and experienced many different things. But because I've had such variety and I've kind of chopped and changed, there's also a difference in the level of what I feel like is my personal success, right? Mm-hmm. So certain things I've done very well at, other things not so well. And when I look at it, it's because of that focus. It's because I wasn't really clear on why I was doing what I was doing. And so when the world threw me a challenge, I'm like, I'll just change. It was easier than persevering. And so, like I said, I haven't gotten the results that I really wanted. So now what I do, I was 42 when I worked up what I want to be when I grow up. So this is what I now do is help people. And it's this, if I didn't have bills to pay, I would happily do what I do and just gift it to the world, right? Because I absolutely love my work. Because I'm happy to ask people. Like I remember standing in line at the grocery store, met up with a friend of mine who I hadn't seen for a really long time. And talking about just catching up with kids and work and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's fantastic. Do you really enjoy what you do? And this person just kind of looked at me and I'm like, well, why are you there? And they went, because of the money. And then but they walked away with this perplexed look on their face because they'd never considered that you could work a job or own a business or have a career that just made you light up from the inside and gave you the results that you wanted, right? Because I think we all have the capacity to create that in our own lives if we'll do the work to shift from where we are now to where we truly want to be. But the first thing is you've got to know where you want to be.
And
So
isn't that interesting that we, first of all, take so long to finally say, this is what I want to do and not have to work, whatever. But then it comes back down to really what we kind of wanted to do as kids, which I find is interesting. Because like when I was a kid, my grandma was a teacher. And I was like, and my dad was a teacher and my mom was a teacher for a short amount of time. So I'm like, I want to be a teacher. Well, what the heck do I do now on a daily basis? I teach, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a different way of teaching. So I think sometimes those passions, like for your clients and in some of your coaching, how do you find out what those passions are and then try to bring them to the surface?
I ask a lot of questions a lot of people don't want to go down. So things like, I call myself a business life coach because my work goes across both spaces. Excuse me. But, I will ask people about why are you doing that? It's not about this is your product offering, so this is how we make it more profitable. This is your product offering. Why do you offer that product? Right? I go backwards before we'll go forwards. So that's in terms of the coaching that I do. So I do either group work or one-on-one stuff. That's a lot of the process, but also too, I about 4 years ago now, I created a program for a dream board workshop that has pulled in a whole bunch of activities that I have found and used across my 30-something years of personal development, and pulled those key things together that have really helped me to get clear on what it is that I wanted. So through the workshop, I take people through this process. It's a 5-hour workshop and I do it online or in person. So, if you want to come visit me in Queensland, you can do that and we can be in a room together. And that would be amazing.
So here we call them vision boards. And
Yes.
we do a couple different workshops throughout the year for vision boards as well. So the power of a vision board. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've actually signed in to do yours because I want to understand other people's perspectives and what they're doing. I have no desire to change mine, but we can always learn from each other. We can always support each other. There's always going to be, in my business, I deliberately set up relationships with people who work in the life coaching space because I am a business coach first and a little bit of life coaching. And when people need a lot of help in that life space, I want to find other people to work with. So, vision boards, dream boards, and whatever you want to call them, they are so powerful when they're used well. They can be completely useless if you do nothing with them.
Yeah.
And so many people will create a dream board or a vision board and chuck it in the cupboard and wonder why nothing changes. Well, it takes action as well. There is always.
Even on the other side of that, they throw it in the cupboard and they wonder why nothing changes, or they stare at it all the time, but then they don't take the actions to make that thing happen. Right. So it's like it's out of focus or out of clarity for them.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, if you're making a vision board and it just looking at it doesn't just light you up from the inside, your vision board needs a revision. And there's something that's not sitting right with. And I spend a lot of time with my clients with that. Once they've actually done the workshop, I go back and we have another session where I will do one-on-one work with them to ask around why they've decided to put the images where they have, because there's a whole process that I use about image placement and selection of images and all these other things, so that you've got a dream board or a vision board that just is a hugely powerful tool. You don't want to be taking a little tiny toy hammer when a sledgehammer is required, right? And sometimes in our world, we need a sledgehammer to kind of break through. So, we're all about creating that really effective dream board through the process.
I love that. So the people in the Female Leader Headquarters know that I am a huge believer in a morning routine. I've done a couple different challenges in that way. I talk about, Miracle Morning a lot. It's one of the freebies when people join the group. Tell me about something that is a non-negotiable for you. It doesn't have to be a morning. It could be just in the daytime. What is something that you're like, I'm just not at my best if I don't do this thing?
Shower and makeup.
Yes.
Start my day, like literally. Yeah. So as you can see, it's morning here, right? I slept in this morning and I'm like, I got half an hour I can choose between either breakfast or a shower, you know. Because I also have a broken foot at the moment, so it's very hard to get up and down my stairs. So I'm like, right. But either way, it would have still been, I can sit here and I can talk to you when I haven't had a coffee and hadn't had breakfast, but you are not going to see me unless I feel like I'm presenting myself to the world in the way that I want to be seen. Mm-hmm. That's I need to not turn my alarms off on the weekend is what it comes down to.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Well, and I don't think there's anything wrong with making sure that you put forth that personal best, right? Because that's where a lot of the confidence lies. You know, for me, it is almost 6 o'clock here and I am not like a night person. My brain stops working around 2 p.m. So, and I'm just kind of like enjoying the day after that. I get most of my productivity done in the morning. So it's interesting, you know, sometimes we have to have that little ebb and flow about like when we're going to do the things that are priorities for us. And it's just important to know which end of that spectrum that you are.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm a night owl by nature. And so the whole morning routine, if I'm left to my own devices, it might happen at like, 9 or 10 o'clock rather than earlier in the day. But it still happens. Like there's still that routine. There's still the breakfast and the multis and all those other things. And the coffee, I mean, my business logo, the outside of it is a coffee stain. It's important. There's a whole logic behind why the coffee stain, like it's an imperfect circle. There's a whole lot of stuff in there, but yeah.
So it's speaking of like going into your business conversation, share with us what you have as like a vision set for yourself, for your business, maybe over the next quarter.
Over the next quarter, it's about replenishing, really. The last couple of years for our family have been really tough because of some health challenges. And I kind of started to run my business on autopilot because my focus was on my family. And so this last quarter of this year, I've been really focusing on restructuring, revising all of my documentation. So I haven't completely shut my doors to new clients at the moment, but I have definitely stopped the whole seeking of new clients. If they come in, I literally, the moment I made that decision, I had 3 past clients message me in a week, which is
less than a release, and then they all come needing.
I know. So next year, once I finish this review process, next year it's about rebuilding and getting it back to where I want to be, because my goal is that I'd be able to replace it, equal and then replace my husband's income so that he can take a break. He's been our primary breadwinner for most of our life together, honestly, because I've been the stay-at-home parent. So it's what we both chose, and I'm incredibly grateful and I'm so fortunate to have had the chance to be at home with the kids. But it's my time to do the work, this style of work now, so that he can take a break and do the stuff that he chooses more than what he feels he has to.
So speaking of people finding you, where are you usually hanging out? What kind of places on social do you have where people can find you, follow you? What kind of content do you share?
So the core of my content comes out through my business page. So it's if you look for Terri Adams-Munn 10,000 Dreams, you'll find that. So I also have a free Facebook group called Leaders in Business. It is a private group. So there'll be questions for you to join that, but I would love for you to come in, because my logic in calling it Leaders in Business is that most people who are in there are honestly smaller businesses when you're building a business, you are on your own leadership journey. You're leading yourself, and then you're also leading your family, your community, your clients. But the thing is that when what hits the fan, everybody looks to the leader, but who does the leader look to? Oftentimes that process can be a little bit on the lonely side. And so the Leaders in Business group is all about bringing those leaders together so that we can support each other. It's a really friendly, welcoming group. You can promote in there on appropriate days. So I want people to be able to share about their businesses in this space, because I want you all to be able to succeed. And, sometimes that means promotion is required. It's that Leaders in Business and the 10,000 Dreams page are probably the easiest places to find me. There's a bunch of other places that I pop up, but they're the key ones.
I absolutely love that. And I work with small businesses as well. And you're right. When it comes time for that leader of that business to try to figure out what they want next for either their business or themselves or their team or what have you, where do they go? That's why mentorship is so important, because you need to have someone who, I'm not even going to say is on your level, but is within the same mind frame that's maybe outside of that everyday business, so that you can spark some new ideas. And maybe you're not afraid to talk about something that you have in your vision that someone else in the group may put down or not understand. So I love that you've created that space for people at that level in order to do that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's something that's really important to me, because the whole, I think that if we flicking back to my family, they live remotely, and thankfully now with phones and all the rest of it, and because of some changes that we made with our business, they're not as remote. But I remember as a kid, we were just so removed. We had, I'm old enough that we had party line phones where you had to, crank the handle and talk the exchange, right? We didn't get on the phone and just ring people or check in or whatever. So there was there were these levels of loneliness. And that was a choice, but there are times when that choice becomes a little bit of a burden. And so for me, that's something that's really important, is you build that community so that you've got the people to lean on when you need, and who you can, and so that you can be there to support others when they need to be able to lean on you.
Mm-hmm. Have you done any mastermind groups yourself, or have you created any mastermind groups?
Lots of.
Yeah.
So I've done them in a few different forms. I've done masterminding through a program that I was a part of, where my coach at the time set up a mastermind group within that one. I've done other mastermind groups where I sort of set it up, but we were all business owners working together. Excuse me. The first one, it sort of fell apart because the coach decided to dismantle all those. The next one, I was part of that mastermind for about 2 years, and that sort of disbanded as we all kind of moved in different directions. And now I'm a part of another group that's sort of different. It's more of it's a once a month group. I find that once a week or once a fortnight is ideal for me, because there's like ADHD tendencies in me. So that more often meeting is more effective, I think. And that's why with my coaching, my group coaching, I do once a week. My one-on-one stuff, I do once a fortnight, once every 2 weeks. But that's why I do that, because I want to keep people on track. And I find, so that masterminding is, like I said, I'm in a part of a group right now that's once a month, but it's great. Like, I love the people who are in there. They're beautiful women, and we get to meet locally and work face to face once a month. So it's really nice. Becomes a really good social outlet. But as a true mastermind, it's not really a master. It is a mastermind, but it's not. We call it an accountability group.
I wondered, because I saw on I think it was maybe your personal page, your business page, I can't remember, as I was, just doing some research before the interview, pictures of you guys getting together. And I thought, that's so nice to be able to do some of that in person. So that's awesome that you get the chance to do that. And I think I did see that you said accountability group, which sometimes that's all we need, is someone to share that idea with, have them, kind of give an outside perspective. And then I feel like we can kind of make decisions go from there. And it's a safe space to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the post you saw would have been we just had our Christmas lunch together. So we don't normally meet at somewhere quite so fancy. What we do, we go to a friend who has she has built a studio. She's a web and graphic designer, and she's just one of these. You know how some people will just put together a dinner party and it just looks like it's out of that a chef has done it. She's
so jealous.
Yeah, she's one of those. So we go to her place, and she sets out these tables and throws across the white linen tablecloth and thinks nothing of it, and that's how we sit and do our accountability group once a month.
Oh, so I love that.
It is really lovely. And then, I have a coach I work with who I speak to once a fortnight. So I keep saying fortnight, and I know that you guys don't use that term. It's
okay. I figured it out. It just took me a minute, because I was like, what?
14 nights. Yeah.
Learn something new. Yes. So share, I've had you on here now for about 20 minutes on the hot seat, right? Because in these interviews, I don't share the questions ahead of time because like I was sharing with Terri when she came out, I was like, the conversation always kind of goes in a different direction. And I want to make sure that we're authentic, correct? So now that I've had you on the hot seat then for 20 minutes, I would give you the opportunity to ask any questions about me as well. So if you have one question that you would like to ask me, I'd love to give you that.
I want to know why it is that you do what you do.
What's so funny is the question that I never get is what's your favorite color? And the question that I get pretty often is why do you do what you do? So very similar to how you were sharing, wanting to help that like small business leader, because who do they go to, right? When they need to talk to somebody about their business. I have had in my professional experience, a lot of women coming to me and being like, I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. I don't feel like I can share my ideas. They don't have the confidence that moves them into that next level of leadership, or they are afraid to take a step because they don't have the correct title. So my coaching has always turned more into that leadership voice and the comfortability and just being the authentic you and like what's going to take you to that next level. And when I see somebody light up because they either understand or they have confidence behind it, or they get excited about what they're about to do or the idea that they just had, that's a win for me. So although I call it leadership performance coaching because it's building on those habits to create the transformation, a lot of it is how we are leading ourselves, emotionally and through our work. But also, like you said earlier, we're leaders in our community. We're leaders in our households. We're leaders, in the bathroom when we're by ourselves in the morning getting around. I mean, there's leadership in all moments. I think it's figuring out what you want yours to look like and sound like and become. And when somebody gets into that confidence stage and they really are like, I've hit it. I know what I want. I know who I am. I love it. I just absolutely love it. So.
Yeah. Am I allowed to ask another question? Have we got time?
Yeah. If you have the time, I have the time. Yes.
Awesome. Yep. I got the time. Describe for me what you would call as your ideal day.
So my ideal day is the freedom of choice. Honestly, I don't have one set way that I like my days. At this point, I get to get up with my girls and I get to take them to school every day, which I absolutely love, or I get to have them ride the bus. Gives me a little hour to myself in the morning. So we're part owners in a restaurant. So I spend a little bit of time at the restaurant throughout the week. I spend a little bit of time in my office here at home. But honestly, my ideal day is just in service and creativity. I like things to be different all the time. So I wouldn't say that routine is anything that's good for me, except for when it comes to like my morning time or my morning space to kind of plan what I'm doing throughout the day. But if every day looks completely different, that's where I'm in my element.
Yeah.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. It's funny because the coach and mentor that I had last year, who I have so much love for, Kyra, she was very much like, what does it feel like? We're in flow, be authentic, what's your gut telling you? Get in tap with your intuition. And my current coach, Kimberly, she is more like, we have a plan and we have a checklist and it's strategic. And I feel very much, my VA and I were just talking about this today, I feel very much like I'm in the middle of that, where when I'm ready to post, when I'm ready to launch, when I'm ready to talk about something, I just want to let it fly. And I also know that so that people can be feeling prepared, I have to have a plan in place. Yeah. I would say that I'm definitely the visionary when it comes to my leadership style. Yeah. Visionary, and I love conversation about people really getting into their personal growth and development and getting excited about it and not feeling like it's a task.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard, isn't it? When you like that whole balance between being in flow, but also then having the discipline to do what is required when it is required. Because so many people, if they get into that flow idea, use it as a way to avoid actually doing that scary or challenging thing, like actually clicking the launch button.
Mm-hmm. I was joking because I was always like, I know when my procrastination hits, it's because I'm like, oh, but I could go over here and I can win and I can do really well. And this felt a little uncomfortable. So learning how to push myself through that uncomfortability and unknown has been it's been a wonderful challenge. Like that's been really good for me. All right. Well, thank you so much for jumping on with us tonight. I know that you have something else that you need to get to as well, but I really appreciate you bringing, your knowledge into this space for intentional women making an impact. And I'm excited to see more of what you can bring to our group, because we do have pre-approval in the group for anyone who has been on Intentional Women Making an Impact. So I appreciate, what we're going to be seeing in the future from you as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for the chance to hop up on here and have a chat with you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And on another episode of Intentional Women Making an Impact. Bye-bye.
What are you doing?